Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land. Welcome to the Tactical Husband YouTube channel. I am your host, Sailor, the Tactical Husband. With this channel being about, guns, gear, being tactical, which, it's part about being cool and that's being tactical, but it's also about, what it's like to be a husband and a father and provide and protect and, not only bring home the bacon, but know how to cook it and how to protect it. So this is a subject that I'm really close to in my heart because I do YouTube for fun, but my profession is I am a truck driver. And there's a lot of misinformation out there that's given usually by companies when new hires come on and they ask this question, and is it illegal to carry a firearm in a commercial motor vehicle? There's a yes and no question. That's a yes or no answer, basically. What it is there is no federal law stating you can't carry a firearm in a commercial motor vehicle because you, as a CDL holder that travels between states, are regularly held by the federal government, and also federally if you're just running in your state. It's a federal license. So the federal government doesn't say you can't, but it's the states that have the different rules that can contradict all that. So you need to know the laws in the state you're going to. So, even if you just go to your neighboring state, you need to know that. So like people that live in Indiana that can carry in their vehicles, and this is all based on you should have a concealed carry permit, okay? I don't suggest if you don't have one carrying, because then you open a whole nother can of worms. So for the sake of the argument, let's say you have your concealed carry permit. That'll make things a lot easier. So let's say you live in Indiana and you, as a commercial motor vehicle driver, have to deliver or pick up a load in Illinois. Well, Illinois probably doesn't have reciprocity with Indiana, so they wouldn't honor your concealed carry permit. These are the state laws that you need to know when you drive carrying a firearm as a commercial motor vehicle. And this also goes for if you're in your personal car, because it kind of goes hand in hand here. The biggest thing is no, there's no federal law stating you can't carry a firearm in your commercial motor vehicle. Now, your company might have a policy against it. Now, that's not punishable by law, but that's just their policy. They can fire you, write you up, and so on and so forth. So, excuse me. With that said, you need to know your laws. So, like, my home state where I live is Tennessee, and we have reciprocity with like 38 other states, and the other states we do not. They do not honor our concealed carry permit. So if I go into one of them states and I have to have my firearm with me, it doesn't matter if I'm in my personal vehicle or a commercial motor vehicle, you would have to follow their state laws on transportation. So basically in most of these states, you have to unload the firearm, lock the firearm up, so that it has a lock barrier between it and the ammunition. So the ammunition and the firearm have to be locked away from each other, separately from each other. And usually you can get this with, like a lockable gun case or ammo box that you can put lock on, so on and so forth, or, like one of them life pods or something similar to that. So you can separate them, but here's the other part of it, is they can't be readily accessible from the driver area. So like in your personal vehicle, if you're in a car, you can lock them in the trunk, you're good to go. Both of them can be back there in two different boxes that have locks on them, plus in a locked trunk. You're good. You're perfectly fine. Now in the semi, it's a little bit different. So you'd have to have them in the two different boxes, and they'd have to be in your bunk somewhere, either in a cabinet or under the bunk, so they can't be readily accessible. Now you need to know the state laws, because some states are a little bit different. Now I don't know how much truth this is on this, but I had a friend of mine that I actually trained that was from Maine, but he lived in Boston, Massachusetts, and he worked out of there, and he was a dump truck driver, but he got his Class A and come to our company I worked for at the time, and I trained him. And he was telling me that his brother went through Maine transferring a hunting rifle. They went hunting. He was going through Massachusetts, going back to Maine, and he got pulled over for a normal traffic violation, and they seen the firearm, I guess, in the back seat or something. He didn't really elaborate. And he got arrested and went to jail because even though it was unloaded, I think they might have searched the vehicle. He didn't really elaborate much on the story, but from what I gathered, they found the firearm, and I guess he was transporting what would be considered legally, but he didn't call ahead of time and report to Massachusetts that he was going to be transporting a firearm through them, so they knew, basically registering that firearm's going to be in that state for this amount of time. Now, if anybody sees this video that lives in Massachusetts, you can confirm or deny this law. I don't go through Massachusetts anymore, so I don't really pay attention to the laws. I only pay attention to the states I run through, and it's usually states that are because we run a dedicated route, so I don't have to worry about going to the Northeast anymore that much. Sometimes it might be Virginia or Pennsylvania, but I don't go to Boston anymore. So if you live in Massachusetts, you can confirm the deny this in the comments. I appreciate the info. Now, with the reciprocity, you also need to know that some states have other restrictions, like the age when you can carry. If they enforce signs, what signs they do enforce. If you're allowed to carry, if you've been drinking, there's a lot of different laws. Magazine capacity, which we all know it's usually the blue states that have the magazine restrictions saying you can't have over 10 rounds in a magazine, which is complete and utter BS, because most manufacturer pistols, like the most common pistol that you'll find on the planet is a Glock 19, and it comes with 15 rounds from the factory, but they have to make 10 round magazines for it for places like Washington, Oregon, California, New York, and blah 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 blah, so on and so forth. So you need to know these laws, and some have restriction on like ammo, like this for a fact, New Jersey, you can't have hollow points in New Jersey. You can only use full metal jackets, which makes no absolute sense whatsoever, because a full metal jacket, as anybody that knows anything about ballistics, that a full metal jacket is meant for penetration. Hollow points are meant for connecting to tissue and transferring all its kinetic energy into that tissue, by the FBI standard of 13 to 18 inches. Okay, so it makes no sense. But if you get caught in New Jersey with more than 10 rounds, you're going to catch a felony, and if you have hollow points, you're going to catch any more. That's also why I really wish that the government would give us reciprocity with every state. So every state has to honor a concealed carry permit and what we're allowed to carry in our home state. Because, the Constitution doesn't state, oh, you're only allowed to carry this many rounds and this type of ammo. So why do we have to be limited when we go to one of these other states when we don't even live there? We're a visitor, we're on vacation or even work or whatever. And just because I cross an imaginary line in our country to a different state doesn't mean I automatically should become a felony, because what I'm doing in my state is completely and 100% legal. But these are the rules as a law-abiding gun owner that we have to abide by. So just do some research and you can find out these laws. Now, one of the tools that I use is the USCCA reciprocity map. It is free to everyone. You do not have to be a member. You just go to Google or whatever search engine you use and type in USCCA reciprocity map. Usually as you start typing it in, it'll pull it right up, especially on Google. And it'll tell you what states you can have reciprocity with and which ones you don't, and it'll even link to each gun law for that state. So it'll give you a summary, and you can go through the summary, and if you want more in depth, it'll send you to that state's website for that gun law specifically. So it's a very good tool. Now, the USCCA, I am a member, but other than that, they don't know me. I pay for it out of my pocket. I have for years. I consider it a good thing, but they didn't ask me to say this. They have no idea who the hell I am, except that I pay them money every month for their services. But it is a good thing if you're wanting to know about transporting a firearm there. So that's the video. I hope this is some information gets out to people and that helps them out. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment. And if you wouldn't care, give me a like, give me a subscribe. That'll help my channel grow and get this information out there to more people if you find it useful. So thank you for coming and sharing this time with me, and y'all be safe and have a wonderful day. Peace.